Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and it's time for the second and final part of our discussion on the weirdest developments in the history of superhero movies. And joining me once again is Austin, the Day Ghost.
Yo.
And we are promising that we're only doing 2 of these. This is not going to be a 15-part series.
No, I'm running on empty, so we're
like
good.
Our superhero movie history streams or our top 100 superhero movie streams. But I cannot promise that there won't be a lot of parts when we get to our top 50 least favorite superhero movies, which will be the next series in the Superhero Rewind Unscripted saga.
Oh.
And I'm not sure when exactly that's going to happen because Austin wants to watch a few more crappy superhero movies before we get to that. So
I think I'm only at 45, so it's like, I gotta watch some more.
He needs 5 more. If you need help picking bad enough ones that you will be very happy putting them on your list, I can help you with that. It's funny how opposite that is from the last exercise. You're doing the top 100. You're like, I don't know if this movie's good enough. I'm imagining you watching a movie going, I don't know if that's bad enough.
Yeah, well, there's certain things where it's like, I don't know, most of the bad direct-to-DVD animated films aren't like having me going like, ooh. So it's like, I don't know if I care enough. Like, there's certain things like that where it's like, I don't know, like, they're so just like in one ear out the other. Like, I don't know if I care enough for them to make a top 50, but...
Well, can't you have the hype problem the other direction? You know, where like sometimes you come late to something and people are there's so many people that are kind of obsessed with it, and you finally see it and you go, I mean, that was good, but I don't know why people are that big into that. You can have that the other direction with bad things, where like you've heard how horrible Catwoman is for 20 years, and then maybe you'll watch it and be like, I mean, yeah, it's not good, but I don't know if I have like the vitriol about it.
I mean, in order to see if there was anything I was, just not thinking of, I did look up a couple like worst superhero films lists, and they were all like number 1, Howard the Duck, number 2, Batman and Robin, and I was like, oh, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you're also in the unusual camp of people that like B movies and like the so bad it's good thing. To the degree that you'll put bad movies on your top 100 because what you're looking for might be different from what other people are looking for. So like bad doesn't always mean the same thing to you. Like Austin, I know you and you've got 2 brains where you can go, yes, that's bad, but it's the right kind of bad.
Yeah, and I mean with Howard the Duck specifically, I don't even think it's bad, but absolutely,
there's an argument to be made, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get why you might appreciate that even unironically. I think it's a hot mess, but that's also part of what's fun about it for me. So I do have more of a it's so bad it's good kind of thing with that.
Yeah, there is an element to it, but there's also just stuff in it where I'm like, I don't know, I enjoy this so much to say that I like it ironically.
I don't appreciate Batman and Robin to the degree you do because I think it's just
kind of more ironic,
lame 60s Batman. Where it's like, okay, you guys are doing something I like but really poorly in a series that the point was to like make smarter, darker Batman and not be and not be 60s Batman. And then when you finally degenerate into that, you can't even do it cleverly. Like that's always been my issue with Batman and Robin.
But at the same time, anytime anything goes wrong for me, I do yell curses, like Poison Ivy does in that movie.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
like, admittedly, there's stuff I do find really funny in that, but overall, like, I just don't think the sexual innuendo is great. Like, it tries to play into that really hard, and Adam West Batman handled that so deftly that it's.
I mean, that movie also falls off a cliff anytime Batman and Robin are in the movie.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't deny the wonderful moments with Bane in his trench coat and his hat going monkey work. Like that stuff's
he's
wonderful.
The best Bane. I love Bane in that movie.
Let's talk about weird developments that aren't Howard the Duck or Batman and Robin. So we hit. I feel like we got quite a bit done in that last part, and we could have left it at that, but I still have a number of things left on my list that might be worth bringing up and talking about for a little bit, Austin. I don't know if we'll go as long as we did last time.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is us. I won't say anything in terms of length.
That's fair. That's fair. We talked. We also did a good job running the gamut last time in as far as history goes. Like we did some early stuff, we did some later stuff. We did a pretty good equal amount of Marvel and DC stuff. We talked. It's funny. I think the unreleased Fantastic Four movie came up in our last discussion, Austin. And one thing on my list is the fact that Fant Four Stick was more embarrassing to release than the Corman movie.
Yeah, we did talk about the Corman movie, but just in how it is the only film that doesn't fall into the 10-year cycle.
Yeah, but
it's not
five
released,
is
so.
and 5 is always in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
that
exactly.
one would have been 94, so that if it had come out when it was finished, and like that's weird. But it's really weird that in the 2000s, we don't have to talk about this for very long, but I just noticed that on my list, and I was like, I'll bring that up. In the 2000s, you get a Fantastic Four movie that is at least popular enough they feel like it's worth making a sequel to. And then when Rise of the Silver Surfer isn't real well received and they cancel that whole series, then when Fant Four Stick happens and you get all the madness with Josh Trank behind the scenes and his fighting with Fox about what the ultimate product should be, Fox is so trepidatious about that whole thing. We're like, they put a lot of money into it, so I guess they have to release it. But I always got the sense that if they could have just Zaslaved that, they would have.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have been happy to Zaslav that.
That would have been an even weirder development if you had 2 unreleased Fantastic Four movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, imagine the world where we're all like, oh man, what would that Fant Four Stick movie have looked like? Maybe it's really cool. Like, just knowing, like, the movie that we have now, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I do think that it's more of an embarrassing movie to put out.
100%. I think both of them are. It's the best Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Tim Story movie looks finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, say whatever you want to about that plot, and like, it's not a really great looking movie or anything, but like it looks okay for that period. And then Fant Four Stick comes out, and it's super gutted, and it also doesn't look the best. And
they have their stupid costumes that like kind of resemble like an F.
Oh yeah,
I think Human Torch is like the 4 lines on his. I
forgot about that, which is just the most CW possible way to handle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw somebody the other day say that. I mean, this has been like a common fan thing that people want Miles Teller to be the Maker. But I saw somebody the other day say that if they ever do that, they need his suit to have just like a stupid M like built into his costume.
That'd be great.
That'd be
I
beautiful.
Yeah, since you know they're gonna do a lot of multiversal crossover stuff with old movies, I wouldn't even hate that as an idea.
No, I mean I can kind of see that
It'd be all right.
with Teller, yeah.
Okay, Austin, pick something from your list. Throw something out.
Okay, I will throw not exactly like similar, but like you mentioned Josh Trank, and this also kind of killed his career for a while. Um, I think it's funny that we have a dark reboot of Spider-Man the same year as Avengers that sets the tone for like comic book silliness for movies moving forward. I think it's funny that those come out at the same time.
You mean with Amazing Spider-Man and the first Avengers movie?
Mhm.
You're about just
Yeah,
the stark contrast between those. Uh,
yeah, exactly. And that Spider-Man is like the darker one.
well, and yeah, and made more interesting by the fact that Rises was that year also.
Hmm. Yep, that is true too. And then Amazing too, like sharply twists into Avengers came out.
Yeah, that's a hard left.
Mhm.
That's kind of like looking at the way the second season of Star Trek Discovery is responding to the Orville,
Oh, okay.
where suddenly they have like kind of some forced humor moments, and they bring Pike in, and they try to kind of brighten it up, and
Hmm. And I mean, the Bay Turtles does this too, and that's
oh, I
the
guess that's
first one of
true.
those is, and the first one of those is the same year
That's also
as Amazing
2012,
2.
right?
No, that's 2014. So it's
14.
the same year as
Sorry.
Amazing
No,
2.
I knew that. It's Ninja Turtles 2014. I wasn't thinking about that right.
No, I had the same thing where for a second I was like, is that 2012? No, because that's
And
2014.
and then they rushed the sequel just 2 years after that. I think. Is it
Hmm.
16 or is it 17?
It is 16, but at the same time, like I don't know, so many like superhero things, especially at that point, were like 2 years, 2 years. Like you have that with the Cap movies for like Winter Soldier to Civil War. You have that with like all the Spider-Man movies, pretty much. With those, um, yeah, just like quite a few things at that time.
Well, I said when the first Mark Webb movie was announced that it was too soon to reboot that franchise, and people did not really take to it. Like, it was not polarizing in the same way Man of Steel was, but I feel like there were people that liked that movie, but the general consensus seemed to just be kind of meh. Like, no, people were not real like overwhelmed with enthusiasm with that movie, and it feels like it was maybe responding to the to the Nolan Batman movies in, well, to make this feel more of today. We've got to darken it up and make the overall tone of it feel more somber. And
Hmm.
so you're right. Like, then when Avengers happens at the same time, and that's setting the tone for better and for worse, with like lightening these things up, it already feels like a dated product in
Yeah,
comparison. And
well, and I think
so that's why I say
too.
it's interesting that Rises was the same year, because you're seeing the last movie in the franchise that is arguably popularizing that side of it. And
Mhm.
with the '08 thing with Iron Man and in Dark Knight, you definitely have two sides of that coin for quite a while, where you have these more serious, uh, for lack of a better word, like somewhat bleaker, toned superhero movies, and then lighter ones like Iron Man that still can go to those darker and serious places, and not a ton of stuff right in between, really.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of rebooting Spider-Man, like I do think we kind of have proof that you could do it like with such short notice. I think the issue is, and there's plenty of people who don't like the MCU Spider-Man at this point, but like at the same time, I do think that is more of like a unified vision than the Amazing Spider-Man films are. Not just all together, but like, I mean, I can point to like scenes where I'm like, this is a different character now. And I think that kind of hurts it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't trust it at the time. Like you're right. Since then we've rebooted things, like the Suicide Squad and stuff.
But
Um,
also, to be fair to you, like we didn't have precedent
that's what I was
as
gonna say
much
is we
at that
hadn't done
point.
it yet, and
Mhm.
the hard like I was expecting a hard left, kind of like we got that went too far in the opposite direction. And I like that movie more than you do, but that could be my favorite superhero movie. And it's not, but like if it was, I would still say it was not the right time to reboot that franchise because I didn't think the
Yeah,
public would accept it. Because it almost wouldn't have mattered what you made, Austin. The problem was with that particular franchise, people did not see Raimi's movies as unsalvageable, and I didn't see them as straight up unsalvageable. I just don't like three, but I
mhm.
wasn't like totally against getting a fourth movie, but I was in something of a minority. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like three, but there's a lot more people that live and die by those movies and wanted to
Mhm.
see that franchise continue. And that's the big reason I like, kind of for the opposite reason that after Ghostbusters 2016, I said you need to leave that to bed for a long time. Because nobody was going to accept anything that came out right after that. With Spider Man, it was because people love that franchise. You need to let it sit for a while because people are not going to accept a reboot.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and for that time specifically, like the only precedent you really have is Superman and Batman.
And that was
Which
always
leaves
lots of
for a
years
little
in
while.
between.
That's what I mean. Like it leaves for a little bit before it reboots.
Yep.
I don't. I do think that if they'd made a better movie, they probably could have stuck that landing a little bit more. But
Yeah.
it's hard to say because there is also the possibility that the MCU ones then did a little bit better because you have like a failed franchise between it, where now it's like, oh, okay, we have like the floor to look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also just in hindsight, it's too bad that that didn't happen because even though I like that first Amazing movie, okay, I mean, I would have been perfectly happy with an earlier MCU Spider-Man movie, and I think that there's a good chance that Sony and Marvel would have gotten their ducks in a row to make that happen earlier if only you didn't have the Amazing franchise.
Yeah, and I wonder.
Maybe. I mean, some of the reason they agreed to do that was because that second movie was notorious, and they weren't getting along with Andrew Garfield right then.
Hmm.
Uh, so there's
But I
that.
wonder if you get like okay, like just scrap Amazing. Uh, Sony and Marvel come to a deal like in 2012 or like right before it. Uh, do you maybe have a Spider-Man that's more willing to get back into some of the stuff that's in the Raimi movies? Is part of that when you get to the MCU that Sony goes, oh yeah, we tried to like recreate some of that stuff and it didn't work, so like let's avoid that because it's hard to say who that's coming from.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm with you.
Maybe we do have MCU Uncle Ben and like the origin right away. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a lot more likely that you go back to some of that classic stuff
Hmm.
if you didn't just have a failed franchise right before then.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
like
that
maybe we jump straight back into the Osbournes and
because that's
whatnot.
them going, well, we've done it twice now. And so if you didn't have a
Mhm.
second franchise, I don't think that there would have been any thought to we've got to be I don't think we've got to be as opposite from Raimi as possible as far as the plot points go. There's already a little bit of that with Amazing where tonally we're trying to do a hard left and we can't make it uh the uh the classic straight off the page origin because we did that in the last one, but you at least still have an Uncle Ben and all of that.
Yeah, it kind of can't pick a lane where it's
Yeah.
like there's so many things it's rehashing, and then there's so many things that it's trying to get like too far away from.
Well, and I was gonna we'll move on, but I was gonna compare it to DCEU in that way, where it's trying so hard to be something else.
Well, and
I
I mean, if Superman works, we now have this exact template for Superman, Spider-Man, and Batman.
Yeah.
Um, in that you have like the series that people really liked, and then like a failed franchise in the middle between like the reboots we have now. And I mean, Batman and Superman also have a little bit more like surrounded that. It's not exactly three like it is with Spider-Man,
Hmm.
but like you still have like kind of a similar, you know, you're sandwiching like a take that people didn't really like,
And if
or
James
at
Gunn's
least was
movie,
controversial.
if Gunn's movie works, then you also arguably, after your failed franchise and your, uh, and uh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out here.
No, you're okay.
You have your failed franchise, and then right before that, you have your successful one, and then arguably, when you come back, you have a franchise that, in certain ways, actually looks more authentic and like its source material than either of those earlier projects. All three of these will have that if Gunn sticks to the landing with the Superman.
Yeah, that's true too.
I say arguable because some people don't agree with me with that when it comes to Homecoming or with the Batman. But you and I both, I think, are in alignment in seeing at least certain things with the Homecoming version of Spider-Man that feel more authentic to what Stan Lee did, and certainly
Mhm.
lots of things with the Batman that are doing comic book things that we were always looking for that in all this time we've never really gotten to see, particularly detective stuff, but even tonally.
Mhm.
And with Homecoming, like we've hashed this out. People like to complain about the Tony Stark thing,
Well,
and
Homecoming's obviously like a
it's a
take,
different kind of
but
Mary Jane and all of that, but tonally it feels a lot more like early authentic Spider-Man to me than anything we'd had before, and the
yeah, I
way he's
mean,
characterized.
the perfect like off the page Spider-Man movie is probably some sort of blending between Homecoming and the first two Raimi movies.
Well, and I would almost argue that, at least for my own personal interest, the perfect Batman is probably some weird combination of the the three Batman movies I like, or franchises I like. Like I have to ignore BVS, but like I kind of want pieces of '89 and I want pieces of Begins.
Mhm.
And so like the Batman is not as much the definitive version for me as it is for you. But there's aspects of it that we're finally getting that we didn't get with those other franchises.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And Superman, it's maybe a little harder because like I already kind of see Superman the movie as like the definitive Superman, but like you also could get to more of a comic book he plays. So
Dan Schneider put in your $2 super chat and says people thought Tobey Maguire would be MCU Uncle Ben. I don't remember people talking about that, but I'm glad that didn't
I
happen.
definitely heard people talking about that, and I'm very happy that didn't happen. I always thought that was dumb.
Well, something to keep in mind is that when Homecoming comes out, and it's hard to go back to the time and place and remember this, I think, because of how different things are now. But we were we were still in an era where not everyone had given up on the CW superhero shows yet, and they were obsessed with that kind of legacy casting. And I
Yep,
think that's
that
where
there
some of
were.
that I think that's where some of that comes from.
I mean, we still see that to this day. Like you'll see people that are like, "Oh, Henry Cavill should be Jor-El," and it's like, no, that's incredibly distracting.
Yeah, no, I think it is too.
But anyways, what is something off your list? Because I feel like we're taking too long on just my first
We
one.
we we are. That's all right though. I shouldn't have said that about length at the beginning.
That's why I didn't want to comment. I was like, I will no comment.
Well, this one will go fast. This is a cheat because this isn't exactly a development because nothing's happened yet. But I could not help but include this: the fact that there is still no Spawn reboot.
I mean, Gotta ask the Todd father on that one.
It is pretty weird that we're sitting here almost 30 years later. We've not had another Spawn movie.
Yeah, like even Mike Mignola can get Hellboy out every couple of years, even though it's like progressively gotten less and less money and is now not even theatrical. Todd can't even get that out.
Yeah, there's still 3 different versions of that.
Hmm. Yep, we've had one every decade since the 2000s.
McFarlane couldn't even get his second animated series made, which, like 20 or 25 years ago, they did all the vocal recording for. Like, that still has never come out.
Oh my god, Todd, what are you doing? Get on it, man. At least he's in Mortal Kombat, I guess. You got him somewhere.
Bob the Hun, is it though? Spawn is a 90s character. Who cares about him these days? Well, just the fact that McFarlane has been. Well, it's 2 things. So you were right in that the massive popularity of that character made a live action movie in the 90s kind of inevitable. But, and so obviously that doesn't have anything like the staying power that I think people expected it to in the 90s. It's funny to look at wizard lists and stuff from that period that every time they did top 10 top 50 lists of things, Spawn characters were always way toward the top, and like these are characters that nobody's even thinking about anymore. But like you'd see Violator and Sam and Twitch and like all these characters constantly on lists. So it's just kind of the product of the time. But there's the fact that McFarlane is a creator with money, with deeper pockets than some, that you'd think would have been able to negotiate that by now, even if it didn't perform at all. That's the first thing.
Well, and for me, it's like, because I have that sentiment where I'm like, I could care less about Spawn. Like, that character sucks. But can also look at Todd McFarlane and go, you've completely like sat on this property. Like, you easily could have had it be much more culturally relevant if you'd, taken steps on it. And I guess you can also look at it from the reverse in that he's also not really like hoarded out to an extent. You know what I mean? Where he's not like getting like a ton of like really crappy like movies thrown out there, which you can kind of respect, or not just kind of, but you can respect.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could definitely respect him for that. It's not like he's licensing it to anybody that wants it, and obviously that was always kind of the point of Image, is that he's always, but because he's clutched that to his chest so much, there hasn't. I mean, there's a good middle road there, and
it's just kind of let it slip out of popularity because of that.
And I get why.
Too close of a hold.
Yeah, and I get why with that first movie, because that was too compromised and way more of a mainstream product than he wanted to put out, and I get that. But I would have thought that in 30 years he could have negotiated that better than he has. And the correct answer to that was not he has to do everything, because he doesn't know how to make a movie, and he certainly doesn't know how to write one. And so, like that was kind of the big mistake he made. Not to get all into that again, but the second reason I think it's kind of odd that's never happened is because of the trend of. And I mean, related to the first, just the trend of remakes and reboots, and that we've been in a '90s nostalgia period for a while. So even though it hasn't been popular in the mainstream for a long time, you had this weird sort of renaissance, at least in sales with the comics, where people seemed to care again for a minute, and then McFarlane went nuts and released a million spin-offs, and I don't know how any of those did, but like there still are tons of Spawn books on the stands, and they started making figures again.
People were excited when he was
figures. And so
people were. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, and so. Once again, it's just a little bit weird that he didn't make it happen, because it's so like 90s nostalgia's been in for a while.
No, people were excited to see him in the movie with everything. Ready Player One,
Yeah,
and Mortal Kombat. Like, there is still an audience there that grew up with it and are excited to see him when he pops up in things. But
What it really needs is the I just thought of this is the Netflix anime treatment.
oh, sure.
That's all you need to do with Spawn. Forget the big screen. Just do uh, the Castlevania and Terminator and Godzilla. Like do that with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes more sense than going to Blumhouse, but what do I know?
Well, he's still got that vision he's had for decades now of wanting to do the what was supposed to be a Sam and Twitch movie, and then I guess we just got rid of Sam. Now it's just Twitch. I don't understand that. I
If that's even still what it is, because they cast Renner like a decade
yeah
ago.
yeah I don't know.
Like the worst casting ever, too.
Bob the Hunt, $5 super chat. You and Eric talked about this, where Todd wants Spawn to be this edgy, independent character, and simultaneously is mainstream and huge as Spider-Man. Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to have both. But in his defense, that's kind of what it was in the '90s, and it was gigantic. So he thinks you
Hmm.
can translate that to like mainstream movies. He thinks the problem with the 97 movie was that the studio really wanted kids to be able to go, so they made a PG-13 movie. He thinks it would have performed just as well or better if you didn't compromise the material at all and you made it as brutal as the comics and it was a rated R thing, and he's just not right about that. In
Hmm.
1997, that would have been a smaller movie.
And
Uh,
I mean, Todd just says a lot of things.
and I mean, it probably would have. Yeah, he's never been realistic about that, and it would have been likely a better movie. But the studio was
Mhm.
probably right about what it took to bring box office in, even though that's not a very good movie. But what he needed to do was, and I don't think he could have done this, is convince the studio. Maybe not them. I would have gone to New Line. New Line was the place to make this kind of stuff. I I would have gone to New Line, especially because they did a lot of horror stuff. But like they did
I
the
mean, they did
Mask,
Nightmare.
they did
Like,
yeah, they did Ninja Turtles. Like they also liked independent comics, and they made hard R uh, horror stuff that appealed to teenagers. So what you do is you go to New Line. I've never had this thought before. Well, actually, didn't New Line uh did they also distribute Spawn? I think they
I have,
did.
I have no idea.
So it's weird if they couldn't have gotten them to do that. Now that I'm thinking about it, okay,
I
whatever.
mean, New Line back then was really cool.
But I was just gonna say, if you could convince a studio to make a smaller movie with not as large of a budget, yeah. So they
Mhm.
did do that at New Line. Well, they should have been able to. He should have been able to convince New Line to make a rated R Spawn movie. That's crazy.
They should have brought in Wes Craven. He
Anyway,
probably wouldn't have wanted to do that, but yeah.
let's move on. What's something on your list, Austin? So I just wasted everybody's time with that. He should have gone to. He did go to New Line. It still didn't work out.
Okay, I will go to an unreleased horror thing then, because that's what you went with. Um, the fact that the Clayface movie has been bouncing around at WB for like, I feel like close to 10 years at this point, and is finally greenlit, and will be our first introduction really to like Batman stuff in live action in a new DC universe. I think that's fascinating.
Well, and I think we can tack on lots of other times where we're introducing characters and properties weirdly before other things. Like, how strange is it that the third movie in DCEU is Suicide Squad? That's just very odd that you'd have, like, you'd have Man of Steel and then BVS, and then the next thing you pivot to is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Uh, but like, I don't know. I feel like the Clayface thing is just weirder. The history around it, because that was a movie I really wanted to get made, and like every time we've had a new head at WB or like with DC, I'm like, Please be the one that finally greenlights Clayface. And then now we're finally getting it.
Yeah. I would have thought to put things like that on the list because that hasn't come out yet. And so, like, what if that never gets made?
I mean, I think they're starting to film soon. So, like, I mean, I guess it's as love, so who
Okay,
knows?
I'm just
But I
saying,
feel like
if cameras aren't rolling, I can't be absolutely sure that's happening. It does look like that's
that
getting
comes out
fast
next
tracked.
year.
It does look more and
Yeah.
more like that's actually going to get made now. But I mean, you're right.
Mhm. No, I mean, like, some of the talent behind it's really cool. They hired, like, a real nothing director, but that's
But
whatever.
I don't think solo Clayface is anything like as weird as all the solo like Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man. At least he's going to be in a universe that has Batman in it.
I also think we will probably see Batman in that movie. I'll be shocked if they do not cast him for that. But
Yeah, that whole thing would strike me as weirder. Not to like argue with your placement, or with your entry. I just wouldn't have thought of that because
well, like I said, a
that is
lot of it more so comes down to just the fact that like we've been hearing about this movie for like I feel like close to a decade now, where it's just been like bouncing back and forth, and they're constant. Mike Flanagan's constantly like, "Yeah, I want to make a Clayface movie. I keep pitching it," and it like finally got greenlit.
yeah. Can I
I
be
just think
honest
that's
with you?
also
I don't
interesting.
remember it going back that far.
It might not go back that far, but like we have been hearing it since like quite a bit before Reeves, I think too.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't remember that.
Hmm. Yeah, and he's a director I like a lot, so it was always like, oh, well, I mean, I don't care about a solo Clayface movie, but like if he's making it, I'm excited about that.
What was really ridiculous to me, and of course I've talked about this a lot, is the sheer number of Harley Quinn and or Joker movies that were uh, that were announced that never got made
Hmm.
back during the
Yeah.
DCEU days. And so
Yeah.
it got to the
Just
point where, like, if Clayface was brought up at that point, it probably like went in one ear and out the other with me because so many things got announced that never happened.
well, like I said, it was never officially greenlit. It was just there was always like they were coming out, and he was like, "Yeah, I keep pitching this to them, and they're not taking it." It's like it's just I think that's really interesting and just really cool that like it's finally being made because that was very much a passion project. Even though he's making a stupid Exorcist sequel, so we can't direct it, but whatever.
Going back just real quick because Robert left a comment I wanted to comment on. He's I wanted to address. He said, I mean, Terminator 2 was a gigantic success that appealed to kids and was rated R. It can hypothetically work. I think the problem is superhero and based on comics. In the 90s, I think you're just going to have a really hard time at that point getting a studio to buy into you can like put out a rated R superhero movie, or even that like a guy with a cape would not be a straight up superhero.
I think
And
the issue is that it's pre-Blade when it needed to be
yeah,
post-Blade.
which was also New Line, by the way. But I think,
Yep.
but I think,
Yeah, it is.
and also again, I'm going to double down on this. I think the studio is kind of right about that at that time, where like people are putting. We don't do this now, but at that point, people would have put Terminator in a very different bucket than Spawn. They just wouldn't have looked at it the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have like weirdly like religious stuff where like
Yes.
people are maybe looking at that harsher than they would for Terminator, like in terms of showing kids.
Yeah, they'd be less likely to want to take their kids to it.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know.
there was so much like worry about like satanic worship and uh people kids trying to do incantations to bring back out dark spirits and stuff like the worries about Ouija boards were very real when I was a kid. It's dumb, but it's true. Okay, I'll throw another one out. uh Two Quicksilvers a year apart by different companies.
Yin and yang. One is awful, one is great. It's very bizarre, and both from Kick-Ass.
and then one of them ends up playing the other one in WandaVision.
That is true. Now we
Which
need
was kind
the
of a
reverse
fun
to
idea.
happen.
They didn't they didn't go far enough with it, but it was kind of a fun idea.
Now we need the reverse in Secret Wars.
I
Just
can see
having
that
Aaron Taylor
happening.
Johnson in with the X-Men people.
Well, and then what he'll have to do, of course, is he'll have to come back and he'll have to have his Quicksilver fight his Craven.
Oh.
That could happen, Austin. It could. It's possible.
No.
It's entirely possible. They're still working
I
with
know,
Sony.
the fact that it's possible makes me sad.
The rights are there. It's possible. But yeah,
man, will we get the full Sony universe in Secret Wars?
And then the other thing with Quicksilver that's kind of odd is, I mean, first of all, just that both of those companies had the rights to that character and could put it out at almost the exact, and ended up putting them out almost at the same time. That's just really weird. Because we've talked a lot about strange rights issues with different characters and what package they fit in. There's this issue right now, apparently, with Kingpin that I'll never understand, where D'Onofrio has said he's not allowed to be in movies for some reason, and yet somehow Fox, when Fox was its own studio, and Marvel Studios both had the rights to him, I guess, in different packages.
Mm-hmm.
But like, was Wanda not that way? Was it just Quick? Were there any other characters that both companies could have used, but they just chose not to?
I don't know. Well, Wanda, you get like there's that deleted scene, but like that's all they did with that. I have no idea. There must be like some other characters that are
There
linked
must
that
be.
way.
And then the other thing that's
I'm
weird about it,
surprised Kang wasn't, because Kang
yeah,
is like whole weird history with that. But I
because
could have seen like an argument for him being both.
yeah, I can see why. If they weren't really specific in the contracts, each company wouldn't know what they each owned, and it makes sense that Quicksilver falls into that. I just wonder if other characters did too, because Quicksilver is a mutant that is more often associated with Avengers than he is with any other mutant stuff.
Well, and then there's that weird deal that they made for Ego the Living Planet, where Fox owned Ego and Marvel owned Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh
And, like, I don't know why they owned her.
What is
She's
that
a
about?
mutant.
And
Yeah,
so
I
then
don't know.
it's odd that you kill off the MCU Quicksilver just immediately.
Hmm.
And I always kind of wondered if maybe that was a deal they made with Fox, where like there's a dispute about who owns the rights to them, so like Fox kind of wins it for some reason, and then agrees to let Marvel use him one time. I don't.
Well, it would have to be some sort of trade-off where they get like one gets Scarlet Witch, the other gets Quicksilver, like to use full time, right? Like
Maybe,
it's got to
yeah,
be something like
maybe
that.
that's what happened. I don't know. I'm also not sure if that's what happened. Why they wouldn't have told us that publicly. I don't know why you'd keep that a secret. I, but
I
I've
don't know.
never.
Marvel's pretty like tight-lipped about certain things like
That's
that.
true. So I've never heard that. If that's the case, but yeah, so then one of them gets killed right away, and the other one keeps getting used and progressively in less fun and interesting ways. Because after Days of Future Past, it just all goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
even the really cool Quicksilver, ultimately we don't do anything great with him after his first
Yep.
appearance, because we just sort of repeat his cool slow motion speedster scene in the most over the top and outlandish and stupid way possible in Apocalypse. And then I don't even remember
I mean,
what the hell we did with him in Dark Phoenix, but I'm sure it sucked.
I think
I don't know.
I think they also recreate that.
Did they do it again? I think they did it again.
I think so. I think they do it again. But I think like
Oh,
not
Dan Schneider says it's confirmed
like a
that
short
that's what
one.
happened.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing that would make sense to me. No, what was I gonna say with that? No, Quicksilver in Days of Future Past is basically the Spider-Man in Civil War. Like he pops up and he's like a fun little little bit, and that's kind of it. But we didn't do anything else with him moving forward with Quicksilver.
Spetty Viskew says that Marvel didn't own Negasonic, but Fox needed their permission to change her powers.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
know that either.
I thought it was just they owned her. Okay.
Austin, what else do
Bizarre.
you have, man?
Okay, I'll throw out a softball, which is the bizarreness of the Wolverine trilogy.
That's on my list. That was the next thing I was going to go to. Yep.
Of course it is.
In fact, I'm glad you did that because I've got a related one I'll piggyback off of. Go ahead.
As do I.
Oh, let's see if it's the same one. Go ahead.
I'm gonna guess it probably isn't, but
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, is how much I feel like we've talked about the Wolverine trilogy a million times. They're just very bizarre. So I will jump into
it's
my
weird
side thing.
because none of them are in the same continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And they get progressively better, which nothing else has.
So I'll throw out my side thing.
Does anything else? Sorry, does anything else you can think of have that? Where like it starts horrible and it gets better every time.
There's probably something.
I mean, I guess the animated Batman movies in the New 52 inspired continuity kind of have that, but none of them are actually good. Like they get progressively better. They still suck at it by the end.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll throw out my other side thing with it too, which is that apparently this is just a Wolverine thing. Because we also have two main big Wolverine games, and they're both like weirdly cannibalized games into being movie tie-ins. In that you have X2 Wolverine's Revenge, which technically is not a movie tie-in, but they slap Jackman onto the box and like the X2 logo and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the X2 game." But it was just a game that was already being made, and then
I didn't even know that about that.
Yeah, and then the Origins game was another just original Wolverine game that someone was making, and then they get to that one a little earlier and force it into being a movie tie-in. So it's just, it also kind of goes into gaming as well, which I think is kind of interesting.
Dan Schneider says that Logan is in the same continuity of the Wolverine. I mean, ostensibly, but I've never bought that. And then as
They're so disconnected,
and as Robert Wilde is alluding to, it's also and then there's the fact that that movie can't be really in the same continuity as like the end of Days of Future Past and stuff. It's like it feels so its own thing. Even though there are connections and allusions to the earlier Singer movies, but Robert is also talking about how the Wolverine or how Deadpool and Wolverine is a direct sequel to Logan, and it ends up kind of having the same thing, where it's connected to those movies, or it is directly connected to the last one, but it can't really possibly be the same universe, or at least Deadpool's world cannot be Logan's world, but they tell us that it is.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It's all jacked up. It's all Hugh Jackman up.
A lot of people get jacked in that film.
there are jacked people that people lifted lots of weights to be in those movies. That is true.
Mm-hmm. Where they get killed, yeah. I use it the Sam Jackson way. There's a lot of people getting jacked in this film.
But yeah,
I'm not sure. We do have it with 4.
But I guess it's weird. In I don't know, like kind of a backwards way with Deadpool, where and we talked about this last time, but Deadpool doesn't start with a bad movie, but the first time you see Deadpool, it's a bad movie, and then it gets a franchise that people really like. And then with Wolverine, it starts with a horrible movie, and then it slowly becomes a franchise people like, and then the two of them team up and it culminates into a movie with the both of them. So I guess that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is true.
Because like as much as I didn't love the idea of initially of the third Deadpool movie being a team up thing and Jackman coming back after he said he was done, and I'm in the you call me drinking the Kool-Aid, Austin, but I'm in the camp that loves the way they finished that and killed him, and I never really wanted to see him again. Retroactively, I've been really won over by it. It's kind of made a lot of sense since they stuck the landing with it. But
yeah, I mean Jackman's performance is like the big thing that I liked in Deadpool and Wolverine. He is really good in it.
Yeah, they somehow made me glad they made that.
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't seen that since the theater. I need to see that again.
What is your like side thing?
So I wrote these two things back to back, Austin. So you just said this, but I'm gonna say it the way I wrote it. The uneven and only vaguely in the same continuity Wolverine trilogy, and then related to that, the uneven and only vaguely in the same continuity Harley Quinn trilogy. They have the same thing, except the Harley Quinn movies aren't any good. But you have
we get one good one in there.
Yeah, you have one good one in there. And people don't think of this as a trilogy, but like it is. Sort of, because you get Suicide Squad, which was treated as just a big Harley Quinn star vehicle, right? And then she gets her own essentially solo spin-off that is masquerading as a Birds of Prey movie. Because that is another team-building movie, because that's all DCEU knows how to do. Almost every single movie in the 16 movies they made is a solo character has to go around and build a team. And then she gets one more movie with Suicide Squad, and each of them feel like kind of a soft reboot.
When each one gets progressively better, and while we don't like
I don't agree
Birds
with that,
of Prey,
but
Birds of Prey is so much better than Suicide Squad.
So I want to agree with that. I just don't. Like Suicide Squad is messier than that movie. It doesn't piss me off in the same way. Like I hate Birds of Prey more. Suicide Squad's not good.
Yeah,
but Birds of Prey just makes me angrier.
Yeah, and I have the reverse. But no, what I was going to say with that is that then, going by what I said, you have one that's really bad, one that's like mixed that some people do like, and then the best one. So in a way, it kind of fits the Wolverine trajectory.
But now, what would her team up with somebody else be? Because you don't have a fourth character that has this trajectory that you could really put her with, I guess.
She'll just be the Elektra in the Bane and Deathstroke movie.
Oh, okay.
It'll be Clayface and Harley. That'll be their team up.
But anyway, that's all I needed to say about that. What else do you have on your list, Austin? Are you getting the bottom of the barrel here, or do you still have a few?
No, I mean, I feel like this whole time I'm at bottom of the barrel at this point. But okay, I'm gonna throw out. This is just kind of strange, but like, you have like the whole Kang and Doom stuff now.
Yeah.
But I also think it's kind of funny that you have Thanos, who Josh Brolin and like before that movie, not like right before, but like several years before, is also arrested for domestic abuse. And I think that's kind of fascinating in the overall history. That you kind of have that with both of their big bads, except one happened too close, so they couldn't ignore it.
I wouldn't have thought to put that on the list. That is true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. They know how to pick their big bads, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one just overall odd development related to that, I guess you could throw in here, is all the bad luck. And this is not taking away from stupid mistakes that very clearly Marvel has made with Phase 4 and 5 that were easily avoidable. But I also think it's an odd development, just the sheer amount of bad luck they've had. Like that,
I mean, yeah.
that you put in the category of bad luck. However you feel about the way they handled it, it's not their fault that they ended up with a
No,
guy
of
that
course.
that
Of
had this
course.
huge scandal. It's not their fault that they lost that we all lost Chadwick Boseman. Like they had some really weird luck where they were forced to make mega compromises
Hmm.
in their vision, their creative vision, such as it was, because like I'm kind of glad Kang Dynasty isn't happening now because I did not like what they were doing with him.
No, a lot of people, I think, really like Kang. When you talk to fans online, really like Kang and Ant-Man. I thought he was terrible, so I'm
I did
personally
too.
glad we're moving away from Kang.
And however you feel about the casting with Robert Downey, because we haven't seen that yet. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But I'm more intrigued by that than I would have been. We're going to see how this Kang thing is panning out because everything culminating with that, like with Thanos, just felt really lame to me. And the Doom thing is often left field, so of course it doesn't feel like everything's been leading to that. But I also don't exactly need that again. Like I
Mhm,
don't need you to keep repeating the formula of there's always a Thanos in the background.
mhm. Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess we'll probably see some sort of Doom setup in FF, probably the after credit scene. But
I'm hoping it's a little bit more than after credits. Like I'm hoping that even if he's not in that movie, his presence is kind of felt, where at least like Reed's talking about him.
it's so hard to say because it's like we don't know if it's going to be a Doom from that
That's
world
true.
because it's like the multiverse thing. So it's like I don't know. It's part of why I just can't get excited about Fantastic Four, where it's like all of this seems so needlessly complicated
Yeah,
right from the get go. I don't know.
you just want that to be a movie.
Yeah.
And the more we hear about it, the more it's really hard not to think about the. I mean, maybe in the movie itself it won't be like this, but there's just so much talk about like what we're doing with them afterwards, and I'm like, I just want like a cool, solid '60s period piece, and I don't want to have to think about the grander MCU.
I
Um,
just don't
so
want a Doctor Doom that's thrown away on a gimmick.
yeah, so like I'm more excited about that movie than you are, but I don't
Hmm.
care about them after it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to be more excited than I am about that movie, but I know for sure I get it.
What I wish is that at the very least, and this can't happen because of what we're all pretty sure Secret Wars is going to be, like soft rebooting the whole thing. But I guess it's possible that doesn't happen. Pretty sure that's going to happen. I think they
Hmm.
have to do that. But what I would love, at the very least, would be for them to be able to split the middle and let their Fantastic Four go back and forth so we can still live in their universe a little bit. So it isn't just we destroy their cool 60s retrofuturism universe at the end of their movie and now they're stuck in the MCU. If at least they could go back and forth, it would mean we could do more adventures there. And like that'd be nice. But I don't think we'll do so. It could be like a Guardians thing where their movies are very, very separate, but then they can come over and team up with our character. You could do that multiversally with another universe. They won't do
Hmm.
that, but that's what they should do. Well,
No, I
that's what
mean,
they should do if I didn't think that if they don't soft reboot, the MCU can't survive. And it can't, so never mind, I guess. But
that also just becomes frustrating where it's like any sort of team up thing. Like we have to find a reason for why the FF would leave their universe to come over and
I mean, you're right. But
be in an Avengers movie. I don't know. It's all of this is so just needlessly complicated.
I mean, you're not wrong.
But I don't know. That's Marvel for you at this point. I is it your? Yeah, it's yours. Is the next one.
It is. There was another thing somewhat related to that I wanted to throughout, and I'm trying to find it again. Sorry, give me a second. Where is it? Um. Okay, I'll throw something else out. Uh, I'll probably just say these two words, and then we can just move on. We probably don't even really need to talk about this. And like this is like weird and minor and just a singular thing. But New Goblin, just New Goblin.
I'm gonna do you one better. Every movie Green Goblin.
How was that the choice with Harry Osborn? It's like we knew that he was going to be a second Green Goblin the whole time, and then we're gonna make it as like I want to say dated. It doesn't even feel dated. It feels like what a weird '90s movie would do with it. And we're gonna give him like a hoverboard and make him look like a paintballer. Like what are we
What's funny
doing?
because there's an interview with Franco where he's just like clearly very disappointed that's the glider that he got. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they picked that.
It doesn't even match the last movie, because he finds his dad's mask and all of the tech, and they're making a big deal out of, look, there's the glider, like you're gonna get to see him ride it, and hilariously, it doesn't even make sense that he adapts that tech into something else. The man knows nothing about technology or science. Like, how does he even do that?
All the tech is just there to build it, I guess. That's why his tech is stupid, because he is stupid. I like the idea that he would come up with his own goblin like aesthetic. I don't
No,
like the one that
I'm
they
okay with it
picked.
being a little different, but you at least, even if you do that, it needs to be a glider,
Yeah.
like not a freaking surfboard. This is really
Yeah, no.
goofy. But you're
Both
right,
Harry Osborn and
like
Green
all the
Goblin,
Osborne
though.
stuff and everything is just counterintuitive and bizarre.
Yeah, because I mean, I like Defoe's performance, but I'm still kind of waiting for a definitive Green Goblin in live action. But um, both Harry Osborn and Green Goblins are like, what are we doing? Like, they're both horrifically done. Uh, um, I can at least kind of see the writing on the wall with the Franco one, even though the aesthetic is bad. The other one, like I don't understand any choice that they made with the Amazing Two, Harry Green Goblin,
Yeah,
and why he's there to pop up for the last 5 seconds as the Green Goblin, just for the Gwen Stacy of it all, I guess. And
yeah,
that
it's really
sequence,
no,
horrific.
it's really contrived.
Hmm.
It goes
Oh, he
without
looks
saying.
terrible. He looks like a troll doll. He's got like one robotic looking arm. And he has to wear the suit because it's the only thing that will heal his disease. Like, freaking Ortsy and Kurtzman, man. What are they doing?
Well, what else do you have, Austin?
Um.
See, now the problem is I can't even I can't even talk about that without sounding like I'm speaking ill of the dead now. That's the problem.
Oh, with okay, just say Kurtzman
I can
and
yeah, I can still throw shade at
redacted.
Kurtzman.
Yeah,
I
there
mean,
you
I'm
go.
just kidding. I don't have to like Orsi's work to.
No, I mean, if we have to go there, like it is really
we
sad.
we don't have to go there, but
It is obviously sad that he passed away. I personally think it's more disrespectful to the person to pretend that like I'm a big fan of him because he died.
oh sure, yeah,
Um,
no, I agree with that.
I do have that, but it is very sad that he passed away. What, like 2 months ago?
A little more than that now, right? Maybe it was just a couple months
I
ago.
can't remember, but yeah, no, definitely like way too young. Um, hmm, which one am I gonna go with? Um, okay, I guess I'll just go with just overall the weird the weirdness of the Justice League situation. I specifically wrote
Yeah.
just Joss Whedon getting Justice League, but the whole situation is just very bizarre.
Well, you're right. I should have put that on my list. Maybe in the top 3 weirdest developments ever is the Snyder Cut thing. Just the fact
Yeah,
that
and it's one of those like the Wolverine thing where it's like we've talked about it a million times, but like it still kind of has to be said.
you do
Like
have
it
to
is just
bring
a
it up.
bizarre.
That
Yeah,
like people were there was that campaign and people were obsessed with finally seeing it, and then it actually happened. Like all of that was really weird. And that
it
it
hasn't
wasn't.
worked for the Ayer cut or the Schumacher cut yet, but
I
maybe
think the
one day.
Schumacher cut is coming though.
Maybe, yeah.
Like I think that one we'll definitely see. The Ayer cut will never happen. And Gunn will want to get as far away from most of that stuff as possible, like just in the zeitgeist. Like he's not gonna have any interest in reminding anybody that any of that ever happened.
No, if we get the Ayer cut, it'll be in like 10 years, where it's like we have the foundation for all of this now. Like, if it works out, but
Because the one thing I actually care a lot more about seeing Batgirl than I do the Ayer cut.
which will never happen.
And
But
Batgirl is possibly even maybe probably god awful, and I don't care. Just on the principle of the thing, I think that needs to be released. And
I think the big
that would be
thing
the
with
one thing
Batgirl,
that, as much as I think Gunn will want to get our memories as far away from DCEU as possible, if he could convince Zaslav to finally release that, he should make an exception for it.
the big thing with Batgirl is just that it's not finished. Like it'll never be released. Just that.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's that, but
I don't know. It's weird because it's like I do think it sucks for Batgirl. I also have like no interest in seeing the Batgirl movie. Like even after it was canceled, I'm
like
like
I said, just on principle, I think
no,
I think that
and I agree.
that needs to be
I
allowed
don't
to come out.
I don't think that it should have been deleted, written off. But at the same time, I also I very much had that like I didn't care that hard until they went after something that I cared about, where it was like whatever, Batgirl. I wasn't gonna watch it anyways. Oh, Coyote versus me. Now I'm angry.
Yeah. Well, there's a part of me like I want to say I don't like that there's Keaton Batman footage that I'm not going to see, and then I saw the Flash, and I kind of wish I'd never seen that footage. So
Yeah, and I think he's only in like 3 scenes, and it's probably just him standing around. Like it's probably nothing too crazy.
No,
Have
we
you
don't.
seen Keaton's reaction to that whole thing?
But I have. He was real dismissive. He kind of treated it like, I mean, I got paid, so who cares? But
Yeah, no, I just thought it was funny.
but
But yeah.
we do know for sure that he's in at least one action scene.
Oh, do we?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did fight choreography for that. There's set photos. We
Oh,
know
okay.
we know he did stuff. But
I think the only thing I've seen with him is just it's like him in like an alleyway talking to Gordon, I think, in costume is the only thing I've seen from it. But
it's been a while, so I may be remembering this wrong, but I thought for sure I saw set photos where he was actually doing stunts. But
I mean, it could be. I just always assumed he was like the Iron Man in that movie. Like, I think that movie would have been very Homecoming.
yeah, no, I think so
And
too. But I mean, he's still got. It looks like he's still got to kick somebody. So I don't know.
okay, I mean, yeah, that's cool.
Dan Schneider, $10 super chat. Joss Whedon was brought just to touch it up and change some things because of his pride. He wanted to be his artistic vision. That's why the actors hate him. They like Zack Snyder. I mean, I don't know what else to add. That's true.
That is true. Leave it to Whedon. That is his worst work. Like, I think no matter what, like, I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah. Also, and I'm not saying this in Whedon's defense because it does sound from all accounts like he just was very unprofessional with that project, but he is too much. Whether you like his work or not, he's too much of a singular visionary kind of director that just likes things done a very very particular way to bring in to touch up somebody's work. Like he could have loved what Snyder was doing, and he still is not the guy to do that. That makes no sense. You bring in a workman director to finish somebody else's work. You don't bring in Joss Whedon, the one of the most like overwritten screenwriters and directors like of all time. He's so in his own soup when he's working. It makes no sense to bring that guy in to finish that project.
Unless they're just going, well, we're bringing him in as a director. Like, we're not thinking about it from that perspective because he's not writing it, I guess.
Yeah.
There's certain things, too,
But it
I
sounds
think
like they
that he
gave him too much
changed.
control with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just true. No, and there's things with that cut that I think, watching the Snyder cut, I'm like, okay, I can understand, like, making changes to streamline things. It's just, he just does it really badly, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we talked about it with how we bring Aquaman in when we watch the Snyder Cut, like live for the first time, where it's like the theatrical cut's like, okay, Aquaman leaves, he deals with this ship that gets attacked by parademons. Okay, he comes in. There's like a whole like half an hour sequence of Aquaman that is basically just building up to, to get from that point A to point B. That the theatrical cut just does like that, and it's like, okay, I can get why you would streamline that,
Sure.
but I don't know. It's just it's two really bad movies like sandwiched together.
Yeah. Well, and it also feels like, I mean, in a way, he's not taking the material seriously enough. Where it's like it's not just he's putting his own like comedic stamp on it and it doesn't gel with Snyder. It feels like it feels disingenuous. It feels like he's making fun of Snyder, and like I don't like the way Snyder was handling those projects either. So it might be difficult to come in and not do that if you don't like believe in the way he's doing it. I also think that there's maybe a middle of the road way to handle it where you don't have to like crap all over him, but move it in a direction that would be a little bit more accepted and commercially viable. And I feel like he was just callous about it, I think is the right word.
But I think they should have known too. Like, I think Age of Ultron is kind of giving the middle finger to Man of Steel. And I remember a lot of people saying that at the time, where it's like there's just certain choices in that movie that's like, oh, you're reacting to criticisms of Man of Steel. And I also think
never
Age of
thought about that.
Ultron.
Maybe so.
I also think Age of Ultron is very much the blueprint for the theatrical cut of Justice League, like in terms of just the kind of quality that like he's leaning to after the first Avengers. But I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Let's do a couple more of these, Austin.
If I can. I'm
Okay.
like running on empty over here.
I mean, I've definitely got
next.
a few more things, but I think I'm next, so I can throw out something here. I am running out
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I still got a couple, but some of these are just too stupid. I'm just not gonna throw them out. But we're good.
I've
What is
definitely
yours?
got a few things that I'm not gonna bring up either. I don't think, but okay, I'm gonna cheat with one. This will be real quick, and I'm gonna cheat because this is more of a TV thing than a movie thing. And there are a lot, like, I'm not going to probably, but I could do a whole stream like this with TV stuff also. But related enough to movies, I felt the need to tack this on. Spinning off a character who died as a plot device into a 7-season TV show with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That is not even canon.
That's not even canon. It's pretty freaking weird. That's not canon, but awkwardly, there are a couple of plot points where it sort of has to be, even though it isn't, and it's very awkward. Like the big one is with I think. What is it?
The helicarrier and
Ultron? Is that Ultron? I was trying to remember what the project is. Yeah, where like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Explains where that helicarrier came from, and then like we never do anything with Sif in the movies, but we give her a really good episode of that show. It's like there are certain things that either feel like they ought to be canon or you sort of wish they were in a show that otherwise is dull and who cares.
So the other day I was driving and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like download some videos to listen to while I'm driving. And one of the ones I listened to was you and Dan doing a trailer speculation on Age of Ultron for the first trailer.
I do
And
not
I
even
was
remember this. Okay.
I was dying laughing because the first 20 minutes of this hour-long video are you guys discussing how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will tie into Age of Ultron.
That's really funny. Well, in my defense, at the time,
No, at the time,
everybody thought
we
that
were all
show
saying it.
was canon,
Yeah.
and also you have the same creator making both. And we thought
No, at
Whedon
the
was going to be a
yeah.
lot more involved in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. than he was. Like, it looked like when that started, he writes and directs the pilot. It looks like when that starts that's going to be another Buffy or Dollhouse, and then it just wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was there at the same time too. Like, I agree completely. It's just really funny in retrospect, where it's like, oh yeah, like none of this ended up mattering. But it's also weirder too to add on to your whole thing, Cap, because then,
Sorry, I'm just putting myself back in the time and place because it's weird to think there was a time where I actually thought that show was gonna matter. I'm having to remind myself in the moment that, oh yes, that's right. At that time, we all thought that.
yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of like really funny, like in retrospect, things in that video, as there would be, right? Because it's like so just in a particular time and place. But what was I going to say with that? Oh, to add on to your thing though, Cap, too. What's also weird about it is that the Agent Carter show spins out of Agents of Shield, and the Agent Carter show technically more canon because they put Jarvis in Endgame.
That's right. And all of
And,
that stuff is considered non-canon, but how do you explain that actor comes back?
yeah, well, and I think the Russos and Joe Johnston work on that show, don't they?
Yeah, see, I think that's hilariously those creators kind of headcanon in it, where it's like, okay, well, I guess it's not
Yeah.
officially canon, but we don't care. We worked on this show, and we like it to stand by it, and they should. That first season of Agent Carter is wonderful. I haven't watched it in a long
It's
time.
also probably easier to squeeze in. Like
Yeah,
that period of Marvel is so underdeveloped. Like you can easily just slot it in. I don't think it really
well, that's the
matters.
other thing is at the time because I haven't gone back to it, but it felt like it was adding a lot of world building. And I don't know if all of it still
Yeah.
fits with what we have now. I also kind of don't care because I've just lost interest in that world as a world. But at the time, like they were sneaking in lots of really interesting references and developments of things that would matter in the later canon, like with
Mhm.
Roxxon and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've heard they did like a Red Room episode. I wonder if that
Yeah,
matches at all with what they ended up doing with that.
I bet it doesn't.
It probably doesn't.
I bet they don't know in that show that you can like turn off a thing that will snap out people that were supposedly drugged with the red room or sorry, that it's just they're drugged and it's not that they're conditioned. That is one of my least favorite
Well,
plot points in anything with MCU now. It drives me
it's
insane.
that they're conditioned, and then later on they were drugged.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I
God,
know.
I
It is.
freaking hate that. It makes all that so much less interesting. It's like, oh, okay, it's just mind control. All right.
Yeah.
It's so much more tragic if they're conditioned.
Hmm.
Duh. Schwager's love for $5 super chat. Whedon was always like this, to be fair. The way he treated Zach Penn, he wrote the first draft of Avengers, was awful, documented in that MCU book. Yeah, none of this is stuff that a lot of us realized at the time. And of course, I was a big Whedon fan for the longest time, and it sounds like he was ultimately just kind of an asshole.
I've always been surprised there's never really been anything with any of the big MCU actors, where none of them have ever said anything. I kind of expected that after the Justice League situation.
Well, what I want to say is that Avengers was just so high profile that he was more on his best behavior, but then so was Justice League.
Marvel snipers, they're like, don't say anything. We don't
I
want anything to
I
ruin our
have not
image.
read that tell-all MCU book. I forgot all about that. Or I say
Yeah, I
tell
want to
all.
read that at some point.
I don't know how tell all it actually is, but
There's a lot of like details I've heard from it that are really interesting. Specifically, like around like Guardians and Civil War. I'll probably mention some of that stuff when we do that rewind.
yeah, I think when it came out, I just can't remember any of it now. It's been so long. But I think when it came out, I found a list of some of the things that it was talking about, and I responded to that. But I haven't actually read the whole thing. So
Yeah, I think I sent you that.
thanks for reminding me about that because I forgot. Awesome. Why don't you throw another one out real quick?
Okay, just another one that's like we've talked about it a million times, but kind of just has to be said is the whole Gunn DCU thing, and just how like bizarre it is that he gets fired from Marvel and then goes to DC,
To run
makes
the whole
their
studio.
and then go like makes a movie, then goes back to Marvel
Oh
and
right.
films the
Yep.
scene with the Justice League on a Marvel set, and then goes back to DC and runs it. And oddly, that scene is now probably the one thing he wishes he didn't do.
Yeah. Well, and one of the weirdest things about all that for me is that, and then he is, uh, rebooting the DCU with the same character that Snyder started with, and they're arguably the like two kind of like most talked about uh like superhero movie directors where like arguably they have the biggest bases, even though I don't understand that with Snyder. And I think that's a lot of the reason that Snyder fans are so angry about him taking over. Is it isn't just he's running the show, it's he's doing Superman and we're not getting Cavill, and Snyder didn't get to keep going with Superman and Justice League. Like if he'd started with anything else, they probably wouldn't care as much.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, at the same time, I do feel like they have this weird thing, right? Where it's like every new thing that becomes the enemy until the next new thing comes out, and then they'll retroactively act like, oh man, they got screwed over too. Like it'll be like, ooh, Black Adam's like ruining Snyder's image. I remember people being really mean to Henry Cavill for being in that movie, and then now it's like Gunn took over and they ruined our chance at that and all this stuff. And I think the same kind of thing happened with the Batman, where now when you have like endless discussion about if it's canceled or not,
Yeah,
that now gets thrown into the well, he probably got screwed over too thing. I don't know. It's tiring.
I agree. I but as far as how weird like Gunn getting fired and then taking over DC is and all of that, it's also kind of interesting. And I won't spend very much time on this because you guys know me. I don't like to get into politics. But if this had happened 5 years before or years after, we would not be in anything like the situation we're in now. It's crazy and interesting how much of a role just the social political landscape plays in this. Where if you're not hip deep into cancel culture the way you are right then, the trajectory of history cannot have turned out the way that it did.
Yep. I
That like
also
that whole thing only happens because people are so trigger happy with cancel culture right then that they fire a man over ancient tweets. And then DC goes, well, I mean, I don't know, we're not worried about that. We'll take him to to make one movie that didn't even do all that well.
Mhm. Yeah, and one movie and a TV show, and boom. Though, to piggyback another one that I had on.
Also, sorry, if Gunn was any, I gotta say this real quick.
Yeah.
If Gunn was anybody else, I would have said Warner's might be looking like they're making the same mistake again, though, because they give Snyder the keys to the key. They don't make him the head of the company, but they make him basically the showrunner of it. After he hadn't really had a big hit for them lately. Like it was pretty much 300, and then everything after that, like it never made sense that they gave him the keys to the kingdom. Gunn's The Suicide Squad was a decent movie, but it wasn't a huge seller. So like, if it wasn't for the Guardians movies, And I guess people liked Peacemaker, but like just on the movie side, if it weren't for the Guardians movies, I might have said they're kind of making the same mistake again.
Well, this piggybacks perfectly into one of the other ones I had, which is that before Gunn, they went to Todd Phillips to run DC first.
And that would have been Snyder times 1,000. What are you doing?
Imagine the chaos happening right now if he runs DC and Joker 2 is the first movie released under him.
Can you even imagine it?
No, I think WB would just implode.
Because Snyder is a guy who likes superheroes, who does not fundamentally understand what makes them resonate with people and why people like the particular heroes they do. He's just so simple-minded and edgelordy about it. And if Todd Phillips came in, he doesn't even like superheroes. Like in the first place. What would he even make?
What does his initial slate look like?
Yeah. Like, Snyder's coming in and having Superman snapping people's necks, and Wonder Woman's, signature weapon is a sword, and he's going to kill off a Justice League member in every movie. Todd Phillips is going to come in, and everybody's going to be dead before it starts, and his main characters are going to be, like, random family members. Like,
and they're just going to be remakes of 70s classics.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say with that.
You're not gonna have. Well, you know what it'll be. It'll be the nothing verse before the nothing verse. Like nobody's even gonna have superpowers. You're gonna be in a world that just doesn't even have like any supernatural stuff at all.
Snyder famously before, or like around when Watchmen came out, said that if he made a Batman movie, Batman would get raped in prison. Todd Phillips actually accomplished that, though not with Batman.
It's true,
but with Joker. So,
well, and if I don't know, I just see him as really kind of juvenile, especially after making the mistake of listening to him talk in a commentary. But like at the first sign that people didn't understand what he thought he was making, even though I don't think he understood what he was making with Joker, he might just make a thing trolling all of them. Just imagine he's running the studio and he keeps doing that. Where he just makes numerous movies. He wouldn't get to keep the job long enough, probably. But like, imagine he makes numerous movies just telling everybody how stupid they are for liking the last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We would have gotten Ben-Hur, Superman, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one thing to make your like cheap, crappy YouTube video that is an intentional waste of time to just make fun of your audience. It's a whole other thing to do it with millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Oh, true. Dan's Todd Phillips' Superman movie would have whined about cancel culture in a way that I don't think Gunn's would.
Which is hilarious because Gunn experienced that more.
Well, Todd Phillips didn't really experience it in any way.
Well, I said that because I wasn't totally sure if there was something I was missing with that.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm just saying, like, has he technically sort of been canceled now over Joker 2? But, like, it's not like a political thing. It's just people didn't like that movie.
No, he's probably just, like, in director jail for that. I mean, who knows? Because the first one also made $1 billion. Like, there's a chance he gets, like, a pretty quick comeback from that. But who knows?
I think...
Probably not at WB.
No, I think the next thing he does is some kind of streaming show nobody watches.
Oh, probably.
That's what tends to happen
over
these
the
days.
show.
Yeah. I don't think he'll fail upwards, but I think he'll fail sideways. And then if he makes anything that, like, remotely catches fire, people will then remember that he's had a big success before. Chewbacca's Lover, $5 super chat. Todd Phillips running DC would have been the best thing for Snyder fans who want to hate on the new guy. They would have had a field day with him.
which would have been really ironic.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think if Joker 2, if this is before Joker 2 comes out, I think there would be about 5 minutes where they might think Todd Phillips coming on could save the Snyderverse. I think that would have happened, where they'd go, oh wait a minute, maybe he'll uh, keep the Snyder stuff around and even bring Snyder back. They might have thought
And
that.
I mean, I guess that's possible. Like, he doesn't care about this stuff anyways. Maybe he would just be like, Zack Snyder, come make this. Who knows? He probably thought about taking that job for all of 0 seconds.
Well, we've been at this about an hour and a half. I can throw out maybe one more. Do you have any more that you think absolutely
Nothing that's
need to
like
get
really,
said?
nothing that's really juicy. No, I got like 2 left, and none of them are that great. What is your one?
Uh, well, I will just mention this real quick because people said they were surprised we didn't talk about it last time, and I actually did write it down. But the whole and you kind of alluded to it a minute ago, but just Dwayne Johnson's obsession with Black Adam and kind of trying to hijack the DCEU the way he did, because we brought the whole Black Adam thing up last time, but we didn't really talk about that weird minute where he thought Black Adam was going to save the DCEU, and he thought people would be excited about seeing him and Superman duke it out the big screen. And the most surreal moment of that whole thing for me was the after credits of Super Pets with the two
That
dogs. That was the
I think about
absolute
that.
weirdest thing that year
I
for
think
me.
about that so often. That is maybe one of the greatest after credit scenes of all time. The fact that you have Crypto the Superdog, played by The Rock, and he meets Anubis, I think his name is, the Black Adam dog, who is played by The Rock, who also sets up Black Adam, who is also voiced by The Rock.
I
And The
don't
Rock's not
think
even a versatile actor. They would all have the same voice.
no. That's gotta be the most dated thing in superhero movies.
Well, even with Black Adam, like the actual movie, I swear there's like a month between when that comes out and when Gunn gets the job.
Yeah,
So, like, when you say a hot minute, like literally.
literally. It's a hot minute. And was there one
Mhm.
person in the universe that was excited about any of that? Like,
The Rock. He was very excited. That's like what he does, though, kind of. Like, that's what he does with Fast and the Furious, and why he had like troubles with Vin Diesel. Like, he kind of just globs onto franchises and like tries to take them over.
yeah, do you think he has an insecure streak where what he really wants to do is like be a movie maker and nobody's really letting him do that? Like, do you think that secretly there's this part, or maybe not even secretly? I haven't listened to Dwayne Johnson talk that much, but do you think there's like a deep seated thing where what he really wants is to be Sylvester Stallone, and he just does not have the chops for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just has like a really big ego. So like he just comes in and he's like, well, like I am the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I would think your approach would be uh and it would be easier for him now because he's so popular and everybody want, or at least used to wants him in in their movies. Why doesn't he just do what Stallone did and write a screenplay and try to get it made? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think because you're talking about a guy, right, that like he comes in and he comes from like a long legacy of wrestlers, but like he comes in and kind of blows up to be like the top guy or like in the top like 2 or 3 guys in wrestling, and then he leaves to do Hollywood, and he like within a few years becomes one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. Like I think you just have like a level of ego off of that where it's like you're constantly coming into things and like instantly becoming the best in your craft. Like that's kind of debatable, but you know what I mean, like kind of launching off in that way.
you just start
I
bringing
think
in
it's
your own
just
press.
you just buy into your own press and you come in and go like, okay, let's say there is a piece of him that actually likes Black Adam. I don't personally believe that, but let's just say that, like,
Yeah.
you know, he comes in and he's like, okay, like I'm the best, like everything I do like works out perfectly. DC is doing really badly right now. They need me to come and fix it. Like I can see that, like that mentality.
And DC is
And,
grasping at straws to some degree, so they're
and looking for anyone to like give it foundation.
yeah. So for a second, they're probably also buying into the Rock's Braz,
Hmm.
and they probably think
Well,
they
they're
can do it
probably
with
looking
any
at it like,
character.
yeah, and they're probably looking at it like, oh man, like The Rock is so profitable, which kind of isn't like that true. I mean, it gets worse after Black Adam, but um, like he doesn't have like a huge list of hits, but um,
No, but
like
he
obviously he comes
he
in and
he
he's like a
markets
well-liked
himself.
guy.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
knows how to market himself in such a way where he can spin it to make it look like he's done better than he has. And then you think about
Well,
it
and
for
that's
5 seconds, and you
the wrestling
go,
side of him, right?
"Wait, yeah, no, absolutely."
Like he comes in and I mean, he was basically cutting wrestling promos when talking about Black Adam, with like all the hierarchy thing. And like Dan Sten said, he did ultimately change the hierarchy of DC. That is 100% correct.
Well, the other thing to note with that is DC is probably looking at him when he first comes in and wants to do that and thinking not just uh the Rock is huge and he can maybe like help save us, but also it doesn't matter that Black Adam is not popular because nobody knew what Guardians was. Like they're still looking at things Marvel has done and uh trying to either piggyback off of that and copy it or do the opposite and hope that works. Like they oscillate back and forth between that, which is why
I would
Suicide Squad is kind of
also,
just a cheap Guardians. That's also the thing that makes, sorry, the James Gunn thing such a weird development is that Suicide Squad is a Guardians ripoff, and then he comes in and reboots Suicide Squad.
well, and
We
on
didn't
top of
mention
that,
that part of it.
and I had this on my list, so I'll throw that out too. But you also have that when he was at Marvel, he pitched Thunderbolts. They said no. He left, made Suicide Squad, and now Marvel is making Thunderbolts, which looks like they're taking a lot of inspiration from that first Suicide Squad that
Yep.
was taking inspiration from James Gunn. It's like a whole snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, and he just keeps bouncing back and forth between those companies and changing things to them, like every time he does that.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna leave DC and then make that Spawn movie. That's gonna that's gonna be his next career highlight.
That's fine with me because it'll actually get made then, and so that's fine.
Well, Chris Pratt will be a great Violator, I think. No,
Another,
it'll be his brother.
this is a big one that I we probably need to just mention again, just obligatorily. I don't think we talked about this last time, but just how far away the MCU got with Bruce Banner, considering where he started. It's like just how far away from that it got, and then finally there's a direct sequel to Incredible Hulk,
That's
and
on
he's
my
not in it.
list.
Yeah,
That's one of the other ones I didn't throw out.
so
Yep.
freaking weird. Just the sheer number of Hulk ought to be in this movie. Where is he? And then he just doesn't even feel like that character anymore. And of course, we more than soft reboot the Hulk in Avengers. Like that's the like with Ruffalo, it just feels like a totally different character at that point. And that that first outing with him, I was okay with it. Like it seemed like there was plenty of potential with him, even if I liked the initial casting better. And then it just all goes downhill from there.
Every now and then I think about Secret Wars and I'm like, oh yeah, there has to be a scene in that movie where he's introduced and is like, oh yeah, I have a son now.
I Yeah, Bruce Banner is one of the biggest reasons I think MCU has to full on reboot after Secret Wars.
Is there any character the MCU has handled worse than Bruce Banner? And
No.
not just the fact that, like they really ruined the Hulk. That's one of like their biggest characters.
Well, I would have said Thor after Ragnarok. and
Well,
then
Thor is definitely like
maybe the
second.
next one, and then Infinity War kind of proved to me, and I think this is still kind of true, that he's not unsalvageable. Like, he just keeps showing up and he's kind of a parody of himself, but like, we came back from that once. If you have the right writer, I think you can come back from it again. It's easy for me to
Yeah.
just ignore the stupid comedy crap with him if they write him right. uh
Yeah, and I mean the Russos did well with him in Infinity
Bruce
War.
Banner is not like that for me, Austin. I think
No,
he is unsalvageable.
the Hulk is completely unsalvageable. Like, and everything about his world is unsalvageable. Like, their abomination is terrible now.
Well, and
Their leader is
that's the thing is,
terrible.
we screwed him up in we screwed his world up in at least 2 Disney Plus shows and a recent movie that he's not in. We haven't done that with Thor. Like, and I think with that, I guess what helps is the crappy movie, in my mind, crappy movie. I know some people like Ragnarok still. That really screwed that whole thing up. Also, like, got rid of Asgard, and we haven't had Asgard for a while. So like, all of that was ruined a long time ago, and we've done Thor right at least once, even since the destruction of Asgard. Not so with Bruce Banner.
No, even in Infinity War, Bruce Banner's pretty lame.
Yeah, and Thor's one of the best parts of that whole movie, which is not a thing I
Yeah,
thought I would ever
that's
say
my
after
favorite.
Ragnarok.
That's my favorite Thor appearance in the MCU. So I guess you are correct in that now we don't have that. Oh, Ragnarok is popular. We have to do that. That clearly happens between Infinity War and Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they will like double down on what they did with him in Infinity War, like that kind of more balanced take.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Watiti's not involved.
Yeah, I don't think he'll touch Thor again.
No, he
But
won't. But I'm saying that's the only reason. That's maybe the only reason it happens again with Love and Thunder.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. You have like the weird daughter thing that he has now. It's
Yeah,
like Hulk, like he has like a weird kid thing
you
now.
could write that off though.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Doctor Doom. That movie just opens with Doctor Doom killing the girl.
Did you have any more that you really wanted to throw out? Because I found that other one that was related to our weird trilogies that I couldn't find. I found it.
Um, no. Though it is bizarre that Madam Web is the best theatrically released superhero film of 2024.
Oh, something I
What a
was going to
guess.
say about Black Adam is Black Adam is oddly in the tradition of the Venom verse movies.
Yes.
Uh,
We at least get the wizard, I think, in that movie. So that I think
yeah, no, that does happen, but like,
there is like some sort of connection.
yeah, that's true, but we don't get him introduced with his superhero, and he never is on screen with his superhero, and they treat him like an anti-hero or his own superhero in the first place. They also do the same thing that, like I said, nearly all of the 16 DCEU movies does, where even the anti-hero Black Adam movie has to be a team movie.
Yep.
And the only stuff that comes close to touching almost kind of sort of working in that movie is Justice Society stuff. And if only they had just made a Justice Society movie, it might have at least been watchable.
It also has what like most of the DCEU has, just generic CGI like warrior man. Except now, like the only difference is that he's like Satan-y.
Yeah, I
But
mean, like,
like,
I at least liked Brosnan's casting.
yeah, I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing in that movie. But like, I like Brosnan. Like, he's fine in it. But uh, that I like that casting a lot. Absolutely.
Okay, can I rapid fire 3 or 4?
Yes. Oh, but before you do, I also got
Sorry,
to say, but
go ahead.
besides the Brosnan thing, this just flashed in my brain. The weirdest casting in that movie is Henry Winkler rocking up for like 30 seconds on a Skype call
I
as
don't
like
even
the
remember that.
original.
Does that happen?
Uh, Yeah, I think what is it, the Atom Smasher, the guy that like grows and shrinks? He's like the second generation one, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta call the guy that was originally Adam." And he pulls out his phone, and it's Henry Winkler, who's like walking down the road on Skype, and he's like, "Hey, kid, it's me. Bye." Like it literally looks like they just Skyped him on the movie set. It's beautiful.
That's amazing. I don't even remember that.
It's so weird. But anyways, rapid fire through a
I
few.
could watch it again, but I don't want
I've seen
to.
that movie twice.
Are you okay?
Uh, uh,
Okay, I'm gonna rapid fire a few of these. Professor X is killed on screen in 3 different movies. It's pretty freaking
yep.
weird. Like,
It'll be more, I'm sure. I'm
yep,
sure he will also die
he will almost
in
certainly die in this
Avengers.
next. We're gonna have a quadrilogy of Professor X deaths.
We could
That's
have five. He could die in both Doomsday and Secret Wars.
that's true. Captain Marvel is a billion-dollar earning movie that immediately everybody turns on.
Yep.
I don't know that there's been another one of those, like a movie that made that much money that is not well remembered, and then its sequel like massively tanks.
So in terms of sequel, like tanking, like it's a little different, but you have that with Joker and to a degree Aquaman.
And
With
Shazam.
well, those three are all billion
Oh,
dollar
they're
movies.
all actually billion-dollar ones. Okay, all right.
Shazam did like just enough to get a sequel.
You're
Like
right.
it
I
did
didn't know you were talking
okay.
about with billion-dollar movies. You're yeah. Okay, so
Well,
you're
and
right.
billion dollar ones that have sequels that
Sequels
either
that
bomb or like
don't do very
don't do
well.
that well.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And that was supposed to be like such a major important character, and now they're gonna have to kind of pretend like she never existed.
Oh, she's gonna get rogued like instantly in Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
100% that like Anna
I think there's a
Paquin
possibility
does that,
Brie
right?
Larson's not even in it, and they just CG her. Like, I think that could even happen. I think it could be like Flash, where they just CG her in the first place. She's not even in it.
I won't go that far, but I do think that Anna Paquin will do the rogue Captain Marvel thing or Miss Marvel thing.
Oh, maybe so. I might I might be just being a little obtuse here, but
When I saw
you
an
be the
interview with
judge.
Paquin the other day where she was like, "Man, the one thing that has always annoyed me about X-Men is I never got to fly." And I'm like, "Oh, if they bring her back 100%, that is like the first thing they do."
And that's the only thing they do, and then she just disappears after that.
She gets the ability to fly and then immediately gets killed by Doctor Doom.
What I hope happens though is that it turns out that they actually shot a lot more with her, and you get the Avengers Doomsday Rogue cut.
There you go. Well, even more so, just cut her out of the theatrical cut entirely.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
have like a cameo. Yeah.
yeah, and then give her own cut, but she's only in like 2 scenes in the Rogue cut, but they still call it the Rogue cut. Anyway, uh, I don't know if this shocked you the way it did me, but I wanted to put this on the list because I know it surprised a lot of people just because of the early history with this actor. But I never could have called Robert Pattinson getting Batman, and and especially that it would be that he would be that good in it.
I
That one
mean,
was just a
yeah,
weird
him
left
and
field kind of
Affleck.
yeah, and Affleck too. Both of those where
Well,
they
I think I've
sounded
told this.
like to a lot of people they sounded like joke casting, and they were both really quite good. The Affleck thing was tragic, but like he wasn't wrong for the part.
Well, I think I've told this story before, but I was on a camping trip when they cast Affleck, and like I literally woke up in my tent and I hear the campsite over, being like, "Did you hear Ben Affleck is Batman?" And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about, dummies? No, he's not." And then I went back to Civilization, and he was in fact cast as Batman.
That's amazing. Uh
Yeah, both. Yeah, well, and I mean,
yeah.
obviously, you have that with Ledger and Keaton. Like, there's just a history of that with Batman.
So just the whole history of the weird continuity with X-Men, of course, but I'll read it like this. X-Men is soft rebooted, gets great again. And Singer comes back, makes a great movie, and then he tanks the whole thing worse than X3. And weirder than that, of course, is ending to sort of. I guess it's more of a quadrilogy, but sort of ending two trilogies, both with bad Dark Phoenix movies.
Yep.
Because that's a new thing we've never done before, right? Like, I guess we're finally with Fantastic Four gonna kind of do it again, where we're doing Coming of Galactus a second time. But are there really any other examples besides Dark Phoenix where we go to the exact same material like that? Like more broadly, I guess there's certain things that Batman movies keep going to, but like in more
Like
direct
Harry
adapt.
Osborn Goblin,
Okay,
I
sure,
guess.
yeah, there's that. There's not
One
a lot.
specifically with that being the one like that ends it. Um, uh, Nothing that's coming to mind, but like Superman. I mean, I guess you can look at it somewhat with Superman, but like part of that is just you have Returns that is just kind of doing the first movie again. But like Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man are the only characters that have really been rebooted enough to like have this with.
Yeah, that's true. Only two actors have won Best Oscar or Best Actor Oscars for a superhero movie, and they're both Jokers.
Yeah, I keep like gaslighting myself into forgetting that Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar for that.
He did, right?
That's true. Yeah, yeah, he did.
The choice to use Keaton's Batman to tie the DC multiverse together when he was like 70 years old, only to totally drop that and to only feature him in Flash and then cancel Batgirl, like that whole thing. There was a minute there where it looked like you mentioned earlier, like Keaton was gonna be uh the Nick Fury for the DCEU.
Hmm.
That's just insane
What?
that
And now
almost
I
happened.
guess Rick Flag Senior is like the Coulson of the DCU. I guess
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
because he's in all three of their first three projects. Granted, they're all Gunn projects, but that is kind of amusing.
But I think that's all the big stuff.
Hmm.
And I guess I
Yeah,
wrote down Thor Ragnarok being a phenomenon. I still will never understand that. But
yeah. I don't know. I guess I can rapid fire like the rest of the ones I
yeah,
have
yeah,
because
go ahead.
they're,
I didn't know if you had
they're
anything else.
I do, but like they're all like eh. Uh, okay, so you have I've mentioned this I think when we did the history one, but Sin City and 300 both having like way too late sequels that then crushed them as a franchise.
Yes, good call.
Um, you have I think it's kind of weird that the woman that was writing the Supergirl spinoff of The Flash, her movie was canceled, but then she still got to write Woman of Tomorrow
I didn't know about
and
that.
Teen Titans. Yeah. Um, John Krasinski was like one of the first choices for Captain America, and then uh, he was like the big fan choice for Mr. Fantastic, which we got to see him as later. And then Nicholas Hoult failed to be both Batman and Superman, but became Lex Luthor, as well as he was previously a character famous for having a ton of hair and is now a character famous for having no hair.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
And yeah, that's it.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I showed you this the other day, but there's a McFarlane figure for Nicholas Holt Lex Luthor that just on principle I'm gonna have to buy because
Oh
he's
yeah, he looks really
he's
cool.
wearing this awesome purple suit. Like I have to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then there was that there's like that kid book that was just announced recently where it was like, friends and enemies of Superman. And it has like all the people on the cover, but one of them is that character we all assume is Ultraman, like in like the full black. But on the book, he's like completely purple, and I was like, oh, if they make that toy, Cap's gonna have to get it because he's like just like a big purple man.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, I'm a giant Lex Luthor fan, and I'm just obsessed with the color purple. And Lex has always been associated with purple, and so And obviously because it's a regal color, and
Mhm.
he's got the big ego and sees himself as he should be ruling everything. And
Well, especially green and purple are just like the villain colors.
mm-hmm. Are we
It's always
assuming
the
that
way.
he's gonna actually get his robot mag?
I 100% think he will. There is a shot in the that behind the scenes video where it's like this big like mech thing coming down a hallway. I'm like, I guarantee that will be
Oh,
Lex's
I
mech
didn't even
suit.
notice that.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll send you the picture of it
If not
afterward.
in this one, there's no way they don't do it next time. But
When he's got like henchmen too that also have like kind of mech looking army suits that are green and purple, which is fun.
maybe he'll
But
just get in one of those at the end. Maybe that's like setting that up, and then he grabs one of those and
well, and the ones with the soldiers, they're more just like like the size of just like soldiers. The like mech suit is like an ironmonger looking dude. Um, so I mean, we'll see. And I feel like the way I've heard Gunn talk about things like that, I feel like he's more likely to do Lex's mech suit like that, where it's like really big and imposing, as opposed to like just him in like kind of a mech suit with no helmet. Like I feel like Gunn would probably want it to be like a full suit. Just
yeah.
like certain things I've heard him talk about, where he's been like, it annoys me in superhero movies where there's things that just kind of don't make sense in a certain way, where like I feel like he would probably see it as like Lex shouldn't have an exposed head on his suit, but
Well, and I think he'll also probably have to try to thread the needle where Lex can do the robot suit thing, but can't go so far that nobody would vote for him for president.
well, I think that would also make sense with it having a mask if
Yeah,
that is in fact Lex's suit.
yeah, no, absolutely. Because I feel like there's no way Gunn doesn't do a Lex Luthor that can't run for president. Like I just feel like that has to happen.
Yeah.
I'll be really
Robert
shocked if we don't go
says
there. And
Robert
maybe
says that arm. Oh, sorry.
maybe
Go
we don't
ahead.
set that up in this movie, but I also think there's a really good chance that the end of that movie is in some way or another setting up President Lex. Like,
Yeah, I could see that. Robert says that that armor is gold. That armor is also gold on that book that made that Ultraman guy purple and his suit is black in the movie. Like that is art for like a little kid's book. So I'm kind of taking that for what it's
I
worth.
don't trust it.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't like to make
We'll
assumptions based
see.
on toys and products and stuff.
I'm just looking at that thing in the behind the scenes video, and I'm like, that's gonna be the Lex suit. I just know it.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and get going, but everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. If you're watching live or after the fact, Austin, this was a fun one. Thanks for making a list.
You're welcome. Even though most of my things on it were dumb.
No, they weren't dumb. They were a lot of them were just like kind of smaller, um, like not as like gigantic impactful things. And so we didn't have
Mhm.
as much crossover as I expected we would. I hit more of the really big obvious things, I think.
Yeah, and there was like a couple things like that where I was like, I mean, it like kind of just has to be said. We
Yeah,
don't have to talk about it much, but we've talked about it a billion times.
just had to get it out
Next
there.
time we do our 8,000th Superman speculation cast, we can talk more about Gunn taking over DC.
Yeah, it does feel like there should be one more of those before that movie comes out. We should do one like the day before it releases and make it so that it's completely irrelevant like hours after we record it.
No, what we need to do, Cap? We need to do one the day before it releases, and then do Superman 2 speculation cast the day after it comes out.
That would be so good. Waste your time, Volution. It's back, folks.
Exactly, and we'll talk about nothing but Agents of Shield.
Everybody, Austin and I might be back tomorrow night. I'm not sure yet. I've got a concert to go to, and I don't know when I'm going to be back from it. And I have to drive a little ways to get there. So if we do a stream tomorrow night, it'll be late, and I don't want to announce what it is yet in case it doesn't happen. But it'll be cool if we do it. It'll be a thing people are interested in, and it'll be also related to superhero movies. So it'll be
Mhm.
another one of these super rewind unscripted conversations. But I can't be sure if it's happening yet. So
I got prep work to do.
Yeah. Oh
I gotta
yeah.
do that tomorrow.
I gotta finish my notes for it, but you've got a little bit more prep to do than I do. But
Yeah,
Austin, if not
exactly.
tomorrow, we'll do it soon. So
Yeah,
that won't
yeah,
be for
exactly.
naught. But
So if anybody follows me on Letterboxd, they will probably get a good idea of what we're doing pretty fast.
oh man, don't put it on Letterbox then. Don't let everybody know.
I
Don't
mean,
don't follow
you
Austin on
didn't
Letterbox.
you didn't hear nothing.
Great. Now everybody will get to know what it is, and then they'll be like, "When are you making the X video that we're not supposed to know about?"
That's okay. I have like 2 followers. It's okay.
Yeah, those are the ones that spoil every damn thing.
Yeah, like John.
Frickin' John, man.
What kind of a name is John, anyways?
Sounds like the kind of person that likes latter
To get
seasons of
to bed.
Smallville.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, well, thanks everybody for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.